お前ら
かかってこい。
何行くぞ。さあ、これで文句はないな。
Yakuza was a success in Japan, and the next year in 2006 Yakuza 2 was released. However, it wasn't much of a success in America or Europe, so Yakuza 2 didn't come out until late 2008. By 2008 the PS2 was on its way out, or at least into kind of a coma that lasted until 2012. And it seems like Yakuza 2 is the one that least amount of people have played, and that's really a shame. This is a minor complaint, but the cover didn't exactly do its part in drawing people in. It's basically just the cover of the first game in black and white. But the Japanese version's artwork showed both Kazuma and Ryuji, whose rivalry the game is centered around. Not sure why they decided to gimp the American cover, but there you go. Anyway, onto the game. The graphics are improved from the first game, although it might not be that noticeable at first. The gameplay is greatly improved with two main changes. First of all, the fighting is sped up quite a bit, which makes it more fun. Secondly, you can switch directions mid-combo now, which you could technically do in the first game too, but there you had to acquire a skill for it first, and it didn't become available until pretty late in the game. This being in the game from the beginning, coupled with the speed and some cool new skills you can learn, makes the gameplay really good in this one. I said about the first game how there was a lot to see and do. Well, Yakuza 2 almost doubled the distractions you can take part in, adding bowling, golf, mahjong, shogi, and pachi slot. The only problem is that if you're looking to clear all the sub-stories this time, you'll have to know how to play mahjong and shogi, something I for one don't know how to do. But the upside is that unlike the first game where it simply listed the sub-stories you had run into, this game shows little clues to what you're supposed to do, and whether they're fully cleared or just finished. Yakuza 2 has the ultimate in wacky sub-stories, by the way, called Be My Baby. There's nothing I can say about it, you just have to witness it. Another thing that's been improved over the first game is the difficulty setting. A great feature to the original Yakuza was that if you died several times in a row, you got the choice to lower the difficulty. The only problem was that it lowered the difficulty from there on, whereas Yakuza 2 you get to lower the difficulty for that particular fight only, which I always have to do for Majima. He gets to use a knife and I can't use health items. It's so unfair. The story is very good in Yakuza 2. There's less of a focus on Kazuma this time, but they make up for it with a lot of interesting characters around him. A year after the events of the first game, Kazuma lives a peaceful life with Haruka, but is called back to help the Tojo clan where they get attacked by the Omi Alliance's Go-Ryu clan from Osaka, led by the main villain Goda is very one-dimensional. He just wants to defeat the Tojo clan and Kazuma to become the one dragon in Japan. But he makes up for his lack of depth by being very charismatic. His voice is great, and he has this aura of badass about him. The game also introduces Daigo Dojima, the son of Sohei Dojima, who was killed in the beginning of the first game. Daigo starts out as a demoralized punk, but goes through a lot of development throughout the game to end up as the chairman of the Tojo for the rest of the series. Yakuza 2 is no sausage fest though. It has two strong female characters. Kaoru Sayama, a tough-as-nails Osaka detective with a grudge against Yakuza, has to team up with Kazuma with a bit of an ulterior motive. And Yayoi Dojima, the wife of the late Sohei and mother of Daigo. She leads the Tojo as interim chairman, and she's a very tough woman too. It's too bad that she's not in any of the subsequent games. I like her a lot. A lot of the story centers around an incident that happened some 30 years ago, where Fuma, Kazuma's mentor from the first game, and Shimano killed a bunch of Koreans, who of course come back for revenge. There's a lot more to it, of course, a lot more, But like I said in the previous review, no spoilers. For some reason though, the few scenes with Fuma, Shimano and Dojima in the past really fascinated me. I wouldn't mind to have a prequel game starring them, actually. I debated with myself for a long time which game had a better story, Yakuza 1 or 2, but I finally settled on the sequel. Sure, it doesn't have as personal of a story for Kazuma as the original, but here the side characters pick up the slack. Sayama has a similar arc as Kazuma had, and Daigo develops a lot as well. What happens in the past is great, what happens in the present is great. I lack the linguistic capacity to critique the finer points of Yakuza 2's storyline, but again, trust me, it's great. I have to say that Yakuza 2 is a bit out there though. A few of the plot points are a bit convoluted, but I'm fine with that personally. Mostly because Yakuza 2 has the most awesome thing ever in the series, and I simply have to tell you about it. Kazuma, after being stabbed in the stomach, just patches himself up and goes to a big castle that opens up to reveal a golden castle, wherein he fights a gang armed with spears before beating up 2 tigers. 2 tigers! I'm going to end on that. Buy this game. The gameplay is great, the story is great, you get to run around in 2 cities this time, you get to punch tigers. Seriously, what else do you want?